Welcome to Module 2 of the Barnard Global Online Pre-Departure. This module provides general travel advice for students going abroad and covers the following areas: travel documents, money and budgeting, packing advice, cell phones and electronics, data security, health preparations, and safety and security. Your first step whenever you plan to travel internationally is to check the expiration date of your passport. As you may remember, entering the expiration date of your passport was a required step of your Barnard Preliminary Study Abroad application. We have followed up with those of you who needed to renew or apply for a passport based on that information. Nevertheless, we encourage you to check again and make sure that your passport is not expiring within a 6-month window from the end date of your program. For those of you who do need to renew or apply for a passport, please note that expedited processing is currently taking 3 to 5 weeks, and that does not include the additional time required for mailing. You can reduce the time required for mailing by paying for return delivery by express mail. It is also now once again possible to make an emergency appointment at a federal passport center if you'll be traveling within 14 days. Please also make sure that you've signed your passport. And while you do have a copy of your passport uploaded through the Barnard Study Abroad portal, it isn't a bad idea to also have a copy with you when you travel. Please make sure to keep it separate from the original passport so that you have it available if your passport is lost or stolen. Your host university or program should have provided you with information on whether you need to apply for a study visa for the period of time you will be in your host country. Whether or not you do depends on a number of factors, including the length of time of your stay and the specific rules of your host country. In some cases, you will need to apply for a study visa ahead of your travel, so it's important to verify this with both your host university or program and, if necessary, with the embassy or consulate of your host country. You can find information on embassies and consulates to the US at the website here. It's important to do this right away if you haven't yet, since securing visa appointments can take time. If you're studying through a program provider, many will offer a visa processing service. If they do, we strongly advise you to take advantage of it, since program providers are intimately familiar with the application requirements and can help to ensure that your application is filled out correctly and processed on time. If you need any help navigating the visa requirements or other information on country embassy or consulate websites, please reach out to us at studyabroad@barnard.edu. While there are many discount sites for plane tickets on the web, we recommend you consider using a student travel agency like Student Universe, since it is usually possible to make changes to such tickets for a reasonable fee. Generally speaking, the cheapest deals on the web are usually not changeable or refundable. Please also keep in mind that low-cost carriers such as Ryanair or EasyJet may advertise extremely low fares, but will charge quite a bit extra for luggage and other basics. As you plan your budget for your time abroad, we suggest you learn as much as you can about the cost of living in your host country and city. The first thing you should do is begin tracking how the local currency converts to US dollars. We provided a couple of examples of currency converters here, such as xe.com and awanda.com. You should find out from your program or host university what is covered as part of the program cost. For instance, if you're paying for both room and board, are all meals covered? If not, what can you expect to pay for meals or groceries on a daily or monthly basis? If you'll be commuting to your program site or university on a regular basis, how much will that cost? As far as how best to pay for things, we recommend not taking a large amount of cash with you unless you know for sure that you will not be able to access ATMs or banks in your host city. We do, however, recommend changing some money into the local currency before you go, if at all possible, just in case you're not able to access an ATM or a currency exchange when you first arrive. Generally speaking, the best way to access local currency is through an ATM, though you should inform yourself about any ATM fees ahead of time. A number of US banks have international partners. You should inquire with your bank about any such partnerships, since withdrawals from those ATMs should not result in any additional fees. We also strongly recommend taking more than one form of payment, including at least one credit card. We suggest you keep some alternate form of payment, like some cash and a credit card, outside of your wallet in a secure spot, just in case your wallet is lost or stolen. It's also a very good idea to let your bank and credit card companies know that you'll be traveling, since you might otherwise find your bank card or credit card frozen due to suspicious activity from another country. You should also check with your credit card companies about whether they charge international transaction fees. Since these tend to be per transaction, it can get quite expensive. If that is the case, you may want to look into credit cards that are geared for international travel that do not charge any such fees. As you begin to plan for packing, your guiding principle should be to pack light. This can be particularly challenging to do when you're traveling for an extended period. As a general rule, do not bring more luggage than you yourself can comfortably carry. Having more luggage than you can easily manage makes you an easy mark for petty thieves and pickpockets. Since you'll be abroad for a longer period, find out what you can easily buy once you're on site. One suggestion on that score, don't bring electronic devices that require a lot of electricity, such as hair dryers, curling irons, or electric shavers. Such items tend to burn out when used with outlet adapters and are therefore best bought in country. You should find out as much as you can about the expectations around dress in your host country. What is appropriate to wear and in what circumstances? Will there be any special events planned, which would require at least one or more dressier outfits? What will the weather be like? Bringing items that you can layer and mix and match are usually best. Remember that you will also be acquiring things during your time abroad, so try to leave as much room as possible in your luggage to accommodate for that. One way to do that is to bring gifts with you, in particular items with the Barnard logo that you can give as gifts to host families, program staff, and local friends. When it comes to cell phones, international plans are getting increasingly more accessible and more reasonably priced. You should check with your provider on the various options. Since such plans often have limits on the amount of data you can use in a given period, it's a good idea to turn off data roaming while you're abroad and rely on Wi-Fi access, which in a number of countries can be pretty widely available. It may also make sense to purchase a local cell phone or to unlock your US phone and purchase a local SIM card. A lot will depend on the kind of phone you have and on local conditions, so you should get as much information on this as you can from your program or host university. Return students can also be a great resource on local cell phones. You should also plan on how you will communicate with your family and friends back in the US. Generally, it's not cost-effective to call the US directly on a cell phone. If you have easy access to Wi-Fi, we recommend using apps such as Zoom, WhatsApp, or Signal. It's a good idea to purchase a set of adapters for your electronics ahead of going abroad. You can find out which kind you need by going to websites such as the one listed here. Related to this is the issue of data safety while abroad. Since you will likely find yourself using open Wi-Fi networks while traveling, it's important that you not make things easy for hackers by autofilling passwords or using cookies. Even better, you should install and use a virtual private network, or VPN, to encrypt your connection. It's also a good idea to use a USB data blocker in public spaces like airports and airplanes, since charging your devices using USB ports can otherwise allow for easy data collection by third parties. Similarly, with passports and credit cards now outfitted with chip technology, it is increasingly easy for hackers to skim personal and credit card information using an RFID reader, which only requires proximity to work. For this reason, we recommend using an RFID passport holder and wallet that provides protection from attempts at skimming. It's of course also important to back up all your files while abroad, which is most easily done using a cloud-based service. In this time of COVID, it is particularly important that you make an appointment with Barnard Primary Care or a travel nurse to go over your immunizations and discuss any other medical needs or concerns while you are abroad. The website for Barnard Primary Care Services is listed here. As part of that planning, it is crucial that you share information with your program regarding any medical conditions, allergies, or other special accommodations you may need while you're abroad. Prescription medications require advanced planning, since you will either need to discuss a prescription override with your doctor in order to bring enough medication with you for your full time abroad, or you will need to fill the prescription in your host country. Since medications are regulated differently in other countries, the second solution may require adjusting to a slightly different medication. We strongly recommend having a discussion with your doctor as soon as possible if you take prescription medications. Similarly, if you are in counseling, we ask that you discuss the kind of support you'll need while abroad with your therapist. Both your program and International SOS are good resources if you need to organize counseling while abroad. And finally, some general advice on safety and security while abroad. Please remember that the laws of the host country apply to you. Being a U.S. citizen or a visiting student does not afford any special privileges or immunity, and while both the U.S. government and Barnard are available to help you as much as possible, they are limited in what they can do if you were to run afoul of any local laws. For this reason, you should familiarize yourself with the laws of your host country, particularly as they apply to public behavior, political speech, and alcohol consumption. You should also plan now for a possible emergency and program all emergency numbers into your phone. These include the emergency services number in your host country, what is the equivalent of 911 here in the US, numbers for your on-site staff contacts. These are the people that you should turn to first in an emergency. The International SOS emergency number for the office closest to your study abroad destination. And this is on the membership card, which, as a reminder, you should download and print, and is also available on the International SOS app. You should also program in the phone numbers for your local U.S. embassy or consulate, both the regular number during business hours and the after-hours number. If you are not a U.S. citizen, you should do the same for your home embassy or consulate. And you should also program in the Barnard CARES emergency number provided here. CARES is available 24/7, and they will patch you through to either me, Krista, or the dean on call to help guide you in an emergency. We wanted to share with you here some basic do's and don'ts when it comes to safety. Please don't accept help from the people waiting in the airport when you first arrive. Please do arrange for airport pickup ahead of time, or inform yourself about the transportation options and know where to go for either an official taxi stand or how to use public transportation. Please don't carry all your valuables in one easily accessible place. Please do use a money belt or an internal pocket to carry backup cash and a credit card. Please don't go out late at night by yourself, particularly in unfamiliar surroundings. Please do use the buddy system and let friends know where you are. Please don't rent a car or motorcycle or moped for that matter. Traffic accidents are the leading cause of death for U.S. citizens abroad in most countries. Please don't use drugs or abuse alcohol. Please do learn about the cultural norms around alcohol consumption in your host culture and use moderation. And please don't go near any demonstrations or marches, no matter how strongly you feel about the cause. They can become chaotic and violent quickly. Depending on your host country, you may have to deal with different norms with regard to what is understood as harassment and discrimination. You should learn as much as you can about those norms for your host country ahead of time. Both program staff and other U.S. students who have studied in your host country are particularly good resources in highlighting what those differences may be and how best to navigate the local culture. A good general resource on traveling as a woman is a Canadian guide, noted here. Most importantly, if you ever feel threatened, don't second guess yourself due to cultural differences. Acknowledge it if something doesn't feel right. All US-based programs will have an individual identified to respond to reports of harassment and sexual assault, as do our partner universities. You can, of course, also turn to Barnard resources, including our Office of Non-Discrimination in Title IX. We provided the link on how to report an incident here. Another resource is the Sexual Violence Response Helpline. We provided the 24/7 number here as well. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us if you need help reporting an instance of harassment or sexual assault. Discrimination abroad can also be particularly fraught and confusing due to cultural differences. We recommend a very good resource for US students, diversityabroad.com. You can sign up on the platform and get access to country guides that include an assessment of the diversity and inclusion climate by country. Once again, don't hesitate to be in touch with your program and with us if you have concerns or experiences that you would like to share. This completes Module 2 on General Travel Advice. If you have any questions, you can raise them with us at the pre-departure meeting. Or if you have a pressing question, you can, of course, write to us at studyabroad@barnard.edu. Thank you very much.